Hello. Today I want to think about two Christian women, both much admired by their contemporaries. The first is commemorated by the Church today, the 29th of April, St. Catherine of Siena, who lived in Italy in the second half of the 14th century. Catherine is not among the best known saints, at least in this country, though she is the patron saint of Italy. She joined the Third Order of the Dominicans, that is, she became a lay associate of the order when aged only 16. Her holiness and the example of her practical care of the poor and destitute won her many followers. Catherine became a noted peacemaker within a divided church in a very turbulent era. For much of the 14th century, the popes lived in France, in Avignon. Catherine visited Pope Gregory there in 1376 and persuaded him to return to Rome. 2 years later, however, the church split again and the era that became known as the Great Schism began, with one pope in Rome and the other in Avignon. Pope Urban in Rome relied on Catherine's advice and intercession. Her health declined amidst the strain of it all and of her works of mercy, and she died in 1380. Well, I hope you'll forgive this unusual excursion into church history, but it enables us to think about Catherine's spirituality and her offering of personal suffering for the sake of others. She published a dialogue in which God responds to her prayers and her self-offering. She quotes God as saying, "The sufferings you endure will, through the power of charity, suffice to win both atonement and reward for you and others. The more you bear, the more you show love for me. When love grows, so does sorrow." Catherine was a tough spiritual guide, right enough, but she certainly practiced what she preached. She and her followers lived in poverty themselves, and as she cared for the poor, which is no doubt why she is also the patron saint of nursing services. But as much as she gave her life feeding the hungry with physical food, Catherine's chief concern was to feed hungry souls. I began by saying I was going to reflect on two Christian women. The first, Catherine of Siena, on this her feast day. The other celebrated her 95th birthday last Wednesday, Elizabeth, our Queen. 20 years ago this month, on what became known in America as 9/11, the people of the United States were reeling in shock following the destruction of the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York. The sense of grief, bewilderment and fear were intense, and not only on the other side of the Atlantic. Her Majesty the Queen sent a message of sympathy to the American people, in which she made this memorable statement: "Grief is the price we pay for love." We may imagine that Her Majesty is pondering on the truth of those words in her own life and that of her family at this time of personal sorrow. Grief is the price we pay for love. As Catherine of Siena wrote, "When love grows, so does sorrow. Suffering and sorrow increase in proportion to love." Those of you who've lost loved ones during the past year, perhaps to the coronavirus, but certainly affected by its restrictions, may feel in a very personal way the consolation that comes from those wise words of St. Catherine of Siena and of Elizabeth our Queen, whom God uphold and strengthen at this time of sorrow. Amen.